Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Dami here, and I wanted to just show you this really freaking cool build that I've actually been playing recently. I found it very cool and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Anyways, I wanted to show you this. Is actually really fun, and yeah, I haven't actually even gotten to mapping yet, but I just found this so fun already. It's really cool. Level 56 at the moment, and I'm playing a let me see. I'm playing a Pathfinder. So for increased effect of flasks. So for here we have the first ascendancy. We have increased flask effect duration and 5% increased effect of flasks on you, which means your Quicksilver and your Soul Catcher will be a lot more effective. And that is beautiful for this build. Then we also have increased movement speed during any flask, which is huge for this build as well, movement speed, and then 20% increased attack speed during any flask effect, which is huge. We have 10% increased flask charges gained, plus a 5% effect of flasks on you, so that totals for 10% already. 10% flask effects on you. So the for the Quicksilver and for the Soul Catcher, as well as the other flasks as well. But these two are the main utility flasks I'm using as of right now. Then we also have the Nature's Boon, which is the 6% reduced elemental damage taken, and then flasks gain 3 charges every 3 seconds, which means you have infinite flasks. Literally. And that's huge for fighting bosses. It's just amazing. Then you have 20% increased, 20% chance for your flasks to not consume charges, which can also be freaking huge. 10% flask charges gained, and then another 5% flask effects on you. So 15% flask effects on you right now. Then we also have the Master Alchemist, which makes you immune to elemental ailments during the flask effect, and seeing as we're a Pathfinder, we're going to be having these flask effects on almost constantly. So that gives us complete immunity to ailments, which makes it legit. 40% increased elemental damage during any flasks, and let me tell you, that is huge. 20% chance to freeze, shock, or ignite during any flask. And seeing as we're running a whole bunch of electricity, it's not electricity, ice, we are going to be doing tons of shatter damage. You're going to be shattering almost constantly. Now, as for our tree here, we're going to go and head to the phase acrobatics first, and then acrobatics. Well, acrobatics, then phase acrobatics. So first, we're going to just level up some basic stuff. I would recommend going down here for the extra life and evasion first, those nodes, get some attack speed, and then go down here, path all the way, because you don't need any of these shield nodes, the shield, or any of that stuff. That's more for archers and things. So you're going to go down here, and if you want, you can grab those on the way, but these are just for cold damage, major cold damage conversion, physical to cold damage, so that's actually really good. These are just additional, but you don't have to have these. But this is important for this build. Then we go up here, just grab some life nodes here, go up here, dexterity, and you can grab an extra frenzy charge if you'd like. I'm going to try and utilize those later, but I haven't actually used them right now. Then I've also got a Vaal skill effect duration gem, no, a jewel, and you'll see that later. But then anyways, you come down here, all the way up here, and then you get yourself some acrobatics. Now it's 30% chance to dodge attacks and hits, or attack hits. 50% less armor and 30% less energy shield, 30% less chance to block spells and attacks. That's okay because we're just going to be doing evasion anyways. So the armor doesn't really affect us, and energy shield, we're not really running a lot of energy shield anyways.
Hey
And
guys,
we get some additional
what's going on?
chance to dodge attacks and hits, additional chance to dodge attacks and hits, all that good stuff. Then phasing, 30% chance to dodge spells and hits, which nullifies that less chance to block spells and attacks because we're dodging them, we're not blocking them. So that's actually really, really nice, very nice quality of
Yeah,
life. Then we go down here, and we get some more attack spells and all that stuff. Attack, and then get some more mana things. Those are pretty helpful, but you can get by without them. I'm utilizing a mana flask because I use a lot of mana, and I run out of a lot of mana very quickly. But that's okay. Um, then I have, let me see, one last thing. Okay, sorry, I just had something else on my other screen. Um, you can also come up here for that incredible amount of attack speed nodes, which is super huge. And then later on in the build, you can get projectile damage. You'll see what that's for later. But then there's some more projectile damage, all that stuff. You can actually get these, and the life regen. You can actually get these a little bit later. They're not required for the beginning. I would just go path down here and get yourself some nice HP, and then maximum life, some extra dexterity and stuff. Ignoring all movement speed penalties from armor is also pretty nice. Getting some more life regen. Those aren't super important because we're not regenning mostly from pure regen. We're regenning from the life flasks because we're going to have those up all the time. Some extra mana. Yeah, there's just some good stuff there. There's another, on my second, at series Rain Jewel for increased Vaal duration. Yeah, you're going to go here, and then getting some more increased duration, and then some elemental resistances. So those are actually both really nice. So basically, we're just going to be focusing on things for our flasks. Getting more flask charges here, getting some more attack speed, more life. We want life, and lots of life, and we appreciate the maximum life benefits and all that. Getting some more bigger health pool. Right now, I actually have a very small health pool, but I'm going to slowly grow that as I go along in my leveling track. Getting some more life from the life wheel, and then I'm planning to travel up here and get some more skill effect duration and stuff for the skills I'm going to show you in a second. And we're going to go up here and get myself some elemental overload for my damage. So that's going to be really cool. Now for my build, I'm focusing on Nagahumi's Flame. I don't know how you pronounce that, but that one. And then with these, you don't even need the items, the gems supporting the weapon's special effect. You don't need those gems to be linked because they're supporting the weapon's effect. Now that is actually really nice. The 20% chance to trigger level 16 Molten Burst on melee hit. And then all the other benefits are also really cool. Increased attack speed, physical damage converted to fire, damage penetrates 20% of fire resistance. That's actually really nice. Oh, it's a really great axe. Also a lot of good physical damage. Now, the part where we get elemental conversion, where we had here the cold elemental conversion, that allows us to have greater effect from the Herald of Ice. And then we also have these very nice gloves, the Hrim Sorrows. They convert 50% of your physical damage to cold damage. And as you can see, we get a lot of damage from the Nagahumi's Flame. Like 225 to 339 physical damage, and it's really nice with that. So 50% of your physical damage is going to be turning to ice, and the other 50% is going to be turning into fire. So you're going to be dealing a lot of elemental damage, so that's really nice. Now we got a belt for some extra physical damage, so that's really nice. And then a ring for a little bit of regen, but mostly for the reduced effect of curses. Increased mana regen, that's been really nice. Some good attributes and good resistance for lightning. Some good fire resistance on this ring. And then we also got the gold rim for some good fire resistance, and then just some good stats here, and extra fire damage, which will help the Nagahumi's Flame or Axe. It's not required to have extra fire damage on that. This amulet is just for stats and for getting your basic stats you need for wielding all this equipment. Now I'm going to go over the gem links. For the gem links, we have Grace. That's just an aura. The Vaal Grace, we can just add that and use that occasionally. But I'm going to be mostly running the Haste aura, because that one's actually very nice and I quite enjoy it. It's going to be pretty helpful, a lot of attack speed, movement speed that helps with our special build. Then we have the Herald of Ice and Haste. Those are the other auras we're going to be running alongside the Vaal Grace. We're only going to be using the Vaal Grace, not the regular Grace, because we don't have enough mana for all that reservation. Now, as for the actual Cyclone, we have where is it? Cyclone here. We're going to be using only the regular Cyclone because the Vaal Cyclone makes you very vulnerable to attack because you're stuck in one position. So regular Cyclone with that, and we're going to be using Mana Leech so that we don't have too much mana problems while we're using this. Elemental damage with attack support is going to be really great for our elemental damage. Then Earthquake. The Vaal Earthquake is also a really great one. We're going to be focusing on the Vaal Earthquake. We do not need the regular Earthquake. The Vaal Earthquake is where we use those increased effect of Vaal skills as well as increased duration skills. So that makes a huge difference because we're running through packs and doing tons of damage. So basically how the Vaal Earthquake works is you smash the ground with axe, staff, or mace, whatever, dealing damage in the area, cracking the earth. The crack will erupt in powerful aftershocks after a short duration. After using this skill, your steps deal damage around you, cracking the earth in the previous cracks where the previous cracks have erupted. This effect ends after secondary duration or after maximum number of aftershocks, which means that the more steps we have, in other words, the more movement speed we have, the more damage we're going to be dealing. So we're running through enemies and causing damage, and then a couple seconds after we run through those enemies, a huge aftershock is going to explode behind us. Up to I think it's 7 pulses. I don't know exactly, but it's pulses of ground explosions that are exploding behind us as we're running through the enemies. And I'll show you how that works when we get to a little bit of displaying. Then I've got some stone golem just for a little bit of extra regen and damage help. It's not too much damage, but it helps to have a little bit of that. Then we're going to have the Immortal Call set up with a Volatile Dead and a Cast when damage taken, which basically means when I take damage beyond a certain threshold, I will have the damage nullified by this Immortal Call, which will activate for about 40 seconds, and which means I'll have a little bit of protection to regenerate some life and mana and all that without taking too much damage. And then Volatile Dead means this one's really fun. Volatile Dead means when somebody attacks me, it'll activate that Immortal Call. If I take too much damage, I'll activate the Immortal Call, or the cast when damage taken, as well as the Immortal Call, but the Volatile Dead will explode the corpses in the targeted location, dealing damage in a small area, and creating an orb which moves towards nearby enemies before dealing spell damage in a larger area. So basically, when there's a bunch of dead bodies and somebody attacks me too much, and I start losing a lot of HP, then the cast when damage taken will activate, and then I'll have lots more damage, so it'll give me a little bit of breathing room. Now for the Nagahumi's Flame, this one is really nice. You have the Life Leech on the Molten Bowls that's going to be striking everyone. You have the Greater Multiple Projectiles, which is very nice. Then you have the Increased Critical Strikes, and that increased critical strikes will help us with this node over here, because we're going to be needing a lot of critical strikes. And then we're going to be having faster projectile support and increased area of effect. All of those are supporting the 20% chance to increase 20% chance to trigger level 16 Molten Burst on melee hit. So basically it means we're going to be exploding a lot, exploding the enemies and all that. As for the chest piece, I forgot to go over that. I'm using the belly of the beast, which gives a decent amount of armor, an increased maximum life, elemental resistances, 50% increased flask life recovery rate, which is really nice. Extra gore, of course, makes things a little bit more bloody, but it's whatever. Yeah, so basically those are the stuff, and the boots, just some basic boots that you can get. It's not a big deal. Probably upgrade those later. So yeah, that's the build as of right now. So now let me just go ahead and show you how it performs in some of these maps. So here we're going to go around, and the first thing we do is we go and charge up our Vaal earthquake things. So see, all those the items and things are working together. So when you cyclone through enemies, you're doing a lot of freezing damage because a lot of your damage is converted to cold, and then you're also exploding little molten balls. So it's actually proccing the special effect of Nagahumi's Flame because of all the attack speed we've gotten over here. And then additional attack speed, you know, along the tree we've collected attack speed here and there. And then this is where the projectile damage comes in. Those projectile damage actually helps with these projectiles that I'm going to be shooting out with Nagahumi's Flame. So it means more damage, and thus I gain more life. So I'm going to be slicing through all these enemies. And then you slice through them. And as you can see, my mana isn't going down almost at all because I'm leeching all the mana, as well as leeching a lot of life from my enemies. So that is really great. And there the immortal coal just went off. Now if I go here and slicing through the enemies, they hit me and the corpses explode into little fireballs that actually chase the enemies. So that also helps give me a little bit of breathing room if I have huge mobs on my tail. So there you see, just shattering through all the enemies. Because of our attack speed, we're shattering almost constantly. Now, given it doesn't happen all the time, but it happens very regularly. So that's where our Herald of Ice comes into play, and it's really nice. You know, just got a leap slam for the basic movement, you know, if we need to get over cliffs and stuff like that. Now we got our Vaal earthquake set up, and that's where the increased duration comes in. From our gems over here, and from, where's the other one? Over here. Because when we activate our Vaal skill, we have 21 seconds of Vaal. Which means if we have enough mobs around us, we can literally be using the Vaal skill back to back. And then Soul Catcher, oh my gosh, this is an amazing flask. Does tons of damage. Your Vaal skills do tons more damage, and the Vaal skills have 25% reduced soul cost during the effect. And they have reduced soul gain prevention, which means instead of having to wait 10 seconds before I can gain more souls, I only have to wait 6 seconds. So that makes for a very nice Vaal duration and Vaal recharge. So let me just show you how this works. You click Vaal, and you run through the enemies. You're not even attacking, you're running through the enemies, and it is activating. And then with your increased movement speed, you're doing tons of damage because you're doing tons of steps. And there you can see my Vaal skill is almost fully charged up again. You just charge up the last little bit, activate the Vaal, and here we go again. Running through the enemies, slicing, smashing. It just literally, you walk over the enemies and they die instantaneously. Now I also have supporting other skill, which I didn't mention, was the Blade Vortex. This one is actually very nice for dealing with bosses because it hits them hard, fast, and continuous, and it's very nice. So if you have a hard boss here, like one of these, you just activate it and it does a huge amount of damage from the vortex. So let me just charge that up to I can show you guys a little bit about how it works. Takes a little bit more souls than the rest of them, or the rest of my Vaal skills, but that's okay. And I like to actually use the Vaal Earthquake as my main Vaal skill. I don't really use the Vortex that much. It's only really for big bosses that I fight. Or rare monsters that I fight. I don't really use it a lot. So now we have our Vortex charged up. And so we go click in a targeted location. And it sets it. Let's go. Oh. Whoops, my bad. So here, we clicked it, and it lets it go. There's the Vaal Vortex, and it actually does a lot of damage, lots of clear speed. Especially for lower levels, it's great for helping you with bosses, because this build is actually very squishy when you get to start off. In fact, I actually ran some labs, Merciless and Cruel specifically, and kept on dying. Me and my friends had a great time, but it was not fun having to die all the time and having to restart lab over and over again. So it's very squishy early on in this game. So I need to get all that life nodes, and once I get that nice life wheel near the Scion, it should be a lot easier to survive and a lot easier to run labs. So yeah, this build only really starts to pick up its damage when you get to around level 55, where you get to use Nagumi's Flame. Other than that, that is pretty much my entire build. I think that's pretty much it. If you guys have questions, please leave a comment down below. I've really enjoyed having you guys watch my video. Maybe this inspires you or influences you to do your own kind of build like this. It's a really cool build, very nice. I actually got this idea from the other YouTuber and Path of Exile streamer, Lifting Nerd Bro. He did a Vaal Earthquake experimental build on this, so that's where I actually got the idea. You should go check him out on YouTube. He's actually really great. He also streams on Twitch almost every single day, so that's very nice. Really great guy, has a lot of cool builds, so definitely go check him out. Anyways, thanks guys. I'll see you guys later.